right, boys. We're on YouTube. Keep it clean.
Why start now?
Yeah, kiss my ass, YouTube.
All right, we're coming up on 30 seconds. I'm going to turn you off.
All right.
The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media, Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Hump Day edition. My little buddy joining right now, and we got John Nichols joining at 4:30 from the Nation, the Cap Times. We know him, we love him. I mean, John, not so much you, Dom.
Come on, man. Happy Hump Day, Crute. Nice to see you. Of course, Rich on the board working hard. Thank you, our fair audience, joining the political party. Always a good time.
Dom, I had a few things going on today, but I found myself at home for a bit watching the Foxy News. And a couple of things jumped out at me. One, a tarmac press conference, impromptu style, President Donald Trump. And two,
Former President Donald Trump.
Former President Donald Trump. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. Always love it. And two, then Trump went to a Chick-fil-A and bought milkshakes for everybody, or maybe just himself. Do you see that news?
I did not. No.
Here is how it's being reported at the Post. Very important news, Tom.
Yeah, breaking.
Donald Trump traveled to Atlanta on Wednesday for a campaign fundraiser. He stopped at a Chick-fil-A in Vine City, a predominantly black neighborhood where the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. once lived. The former president approached the registers, gestured to a fast food worker's nose ring, and said, "I love those." I never would have guessed Donald Trump would be pro-nose ring. Trump said, according to a C-SPAN video of his visit, "That's beautiful. Wow, it's art." And reportedly, he had the milkshake, Dom.
Brings all the boys to the yard, I guess. Just one milkshake, extra large. Did he pay for it?
Didn't say one scoop or two. Oh, I don't have any cash on me. One of the Secret Service guys is going to have to pay you. I'm good for it though.
Yeah,
I'll give you a bond. So I watched this impromptu press conference, and first and foremost, when it started, I had the MSNBC on, and they broke away from this press conference almost immediately. Within a minute or two, they acknowledged that Trump was speaking, and then he started BSing a bit, Don. The big lie. It's never far from his lips, from the topic of the day.
Oh, man.
And we're going to talk about the big event they got planned for Friday, Dom. Apparently a show of strength. MAGA Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, over the protestations of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who thought she was Trump's bestie. But apparently Trump and MAGA Mike are going to have a press conference on Friday on the topic of election integrity.
The two guys that literally did more than most to try to actually overturn the last election are going to get in front of the camera.
More than most. I would say more than nearly anyone ever has in the history of our country, Dom. They're right on the cutting edge of let's just say the insurrectionist acts.
Well, I mean, and these are the folks that are going to lecture us about election integrity. I mean, you know, I guess if you want to talk about, you know, the pitfalls of cocaine use and import and sale, you know, Scarface may be the guy, Al Pacino, to come out and talk about it. I mean, give me a break. These guys are the ones who put this lie out there, who put the wheels in motion to overturn the election. And now they're gonna get together and be very strong bonding brothers and lecture us about what? What exactly? You're gonna do it again? You're not gonna do it again? It's not just him, man. The RNC is out as well. Laura Trump, they're all pushing the lie all the way down from them down to Eric Hovde here in the state of Wisconsin.
He's very, very concerned about the soon-to-be dead nursing home residents. 4-month stops, shouldn't get a vote. That's the Eric Hovde, the recent statement. Maybe we'll replay that one for old time's sake, Dom. You know, keep the recent news fresh in your mind. Former President Donald Trump said Wednesday, and this is what I took note of, that the Arizona Supreme Court went too far in recently ruling in favor of a near total abortion ban, and later said he would not sign a federal bill banning the procedure.
Oh,
and I don't believe him. Not for a minute.
No, man, I don't believe anything that guy says.
Because as he's going through this, he's basically saying, I did this. I heard him say it again. You know, if I saw it last night in a Joe Biden campaign commercial on CBS, but I basically heard Trump bragging again. You know, Roe v. Wade, I did that. I put those judges on the court. And this is what was supposed to happen. And it's supposed to go back to the states. And I didn't see, and I got to tell you, I didn't think that the objection to the Arizona Supreme Court ruling was the big part. The big part is effectively, well, if you won't sign a national abortion ban, but there's certainly not going to be a basement on this either. And my understanding is they're more than willing to let red states go out and put these draconian laws forward through it, litigation or legislation. They're all down for this, Dom.
Of course they are.
So the fact that he's not going to sign an unpopular national abortion ban, or at least so he would claim, he's also, once again, calling Election Day November 5th. It's going to be the most important day in this country's history. And it is a national Christian day of visibility. I mean, talking about trying to pander to the base, man, this guy is saying it's like the next coming of Jesus Day. You better be there. It's the rapture.
A national
if you vote for me.
Day of visibility. Is that a
I
thing?
think he has declared it as such.
Right, okay.
Well, I think he's trying, you know, because what was it? Easter fell on March 31st. That happened to be the same day as Transsexual Day of Visibility. Well, this is his counter protest of sorts. You know, well, Christians stand up on Election Day on November 5th.
It both ways, because of course he's losing the folks like former Vice President Pence. He's losing apparently
for not being anti-abortion enough.
For not being anti-abortion enough. And there's some other folks, a chair from, let me just pull this up here real quick. Lizzie Marbach, a former director of communications at Ohio Right to Life, also worked for the Ohio GOP and Trump's 2020 campaign. Well, she's, of course, crazy about this. Did Arizona go too far? Trump replies, yeah, they did. That'll be straightened out. As you know, it's all about states' rights. It'll be straightened out. I'm sure the governor and everyone else are going to bring it back to within reason. And now Murdoch, Lizzie, she wasn't having it. This is it. I'm out. Trump has officially lost my vote. No sincere Christians can vote for Trump while he is now openly and boldly advocating for abortion. This is not a matter of Christian liberty anymore. It's sinful to vote for the man. So he's losing them on the right. He's losing them on the left. He's just a loser, Rudy.
Dominic, on Monday, Trump issued a video statement in which he said it should be up to the states to decide their abortion policy. But what happens then, even by your own admission, when Arizona goes too far? Well, it'll get straightened out. How does that work? Because you say it's going to happen?
So
I mean, there's
so let it be done.
there is no appetite amongst the Republican leaders of Arizona's legislature to change this. I mean, Katie Hobbs wants it changed. She's the governor there. But these Republicans, this is exactly as they intended. And the only way you're going to have reproductive rights, abortive rights in the state of Arizona is if it's passed by a referendum, which apparently will be on the ballot this November, as you first pointed out to me yesterday, Dom. You broke news to me, fella.
Yeah. See, so Trump wants it both ways, and they also recognize this is an electoral loser. The majority of people in this country want women to have the availability, if they choose to do so, to have an abortion. And folks, you don't like abortion, don't have them. You don't like gay marriage, don't get gay married. You know, we talk about this all the time. What is it about their perception of how the world is that they got to jam down our throats? People don't want that, man. But
I thought Republicans were about freedom. What about personal freedoms for women? Are they not considered in your measures of freedom? Their freedom?
The whole national abortion ban or the patchwork thing. We talked briefly about this yesterday, and it still bothers me. I mean, it's not like, you know, interracial marriage is legal in one state and not in another. And some things are just kind of uniform. You know, you got the right.
Didn't they try that with slavery once upon a time? Like, if you lived up north, it was frowned upon, but down south, we're okay with it.
Yeah, right.
Did we try that for a while, and then it kind of tore the nation apart?
You know, it doesn't seem to really work. How does someone have the right in one state and not the right in the other? These are universal rights, period. And if men got pregnant, men would have an abortion. It wouldn't be an issue.
I think I pointed out yesterday, Dom, I think that this, because of the timing circumstance, again and again, I think this will be a defining issue of the elective cycle. Now, over on the Foxy News, Dom, because I had to flip over to Fox News to hear the continuation of the lies from the former president. And he was walking a rope line. It was kind of loud, not all to sound good. We're not going to make you eat your jet engine covered broccoli today. Not as tasty that way, but anyways, it was amazing to me. And I even said this to my wife. She stopped home for lunch. I said, you know, it's really hard for me to watch Fox News, at least this Faulkner reports. I've been on Fox News enough times. Mike Emanuel, to his credit, when I used to appear primarily on Sundays on their Sunday show, at least he'd let me get 2 sentences in before he'd jump all over me.
Right.
You know, he'd let me make a point and then he'd pound it. Pound, pound, pound. Trump can do no wrong, according to Faulkner. And when she'd have a guest on, I mean, if you're spouting pro-Trump love, Trump makes the best milkshakes. You get like 3 minutes to explain why Trump is the best milkshake maker ever. But there was a specific guest on, and Trump was out there pounding the Jewish people. How the Jewish people could be so self-loathing and vote Democrat. I mean, he's trying this again today.
If you vote for Democrats and you're Jewish, you hate your religion and you hate your country and you hate Israel. It's basically what he said.
Now, when one of the guests, a Democratic-centric guest, tried to point out the number of anti-Semitic statements made by Trump, she didn't get out 3 words before Faulkner just pounded, just spoke all over the top of her, was not going to let that fact get out there for the consumption of the Fox News viewer. I mean, it's to the point, it's hard to even get backs on Fox News.
Do they even do that?
Come back. They're fair and balanced, just like us. More devils.
charged, never convicted. The Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can join us on the lines 844-967-2789. Thank you, Rich. You know, scratching that itch, baby. Crute, the lies on Fox News, the lies from Hovde, the lies from Lara Trump and the RNC, the lies, man. I'm just so damn tired of it. And now we've gone international, man. The jackassery of Wisconsin senatorial candidate Hovde. It's reported on the independent.co.uk. They picked this up. Hey, sorry, Rich, you still have that Hovde sound from the other day? Give me that thumbs up when you're ready for that. As noted here, Trump-endorsed Senate candidate claims nursing home residents shouldn't be able to vote. Let's hear what Hovde has to say, please, Rich.
I'm not going to spend my time talking about 2020. Do I believe the election was stolen? No, but did things happen in that election that were very troublesome? Absolutely. And I can point them out right here in Wisconsin. We had Zuckerbucks come into Democratic cities in a big way to push out, working with cities to push out Democratic votes. We had nursing homes where the sheriff of Racine investigated where you had 100% voting in nursing homes. Well, if you're in a nursing home, you only have 5-6 month life expectancy. Almost nobody in a nursing home is in a point to vote.
I would say his candidacy would be likely to have a 5 or a 6 month shelf life right about now, Dom.
According to factcheck.org, voter turnout from nursing homes in Wisconsin in the 2020 election was actually nowhere near 100%, like Hovde claimed, and was not out of the ordinary. Instead, turnout in nursing homes in Milwaukee County, my county, was actually around 76%. Meanwhile, a review of 2020 poll books in Dane County by the Wisconsin State Journal found just one nursing home in the state had a 100% voter turnout, Crute. It's there. There's one.
That's one Dan O'Donnell must have been pointing at when he was giving his exclusive assembly committee, elections committee testimony in an invited locked capital, and he claimed there's rampant fraud because grandma voted for Biden.
100%. But that particular nursing home had just 12 registered voters. And while turnout in other facilities ranged from 42% to 91%. Milwaukee Election Commissioner Director Claire Woodall-Vogue said this rate of voter participation is very normal and nothing alarming. Well, there's nothing alarming unless you're a senatorial candidate trying to take down Tammy Baldwin and you get the talking point from your buddy Trump, the lies. You had 100% in Dane County. You know, Dane County's pretty dialed in, man. Dane County has saved the state of Wisconsin in more ways than one.
You're welcome.
Several elections. Thank you, Dane County. And to think that there'd be 12 people in a nursing home that maybe were, politically active when they were younger are still politically active. 12. Oh, all 12
we're not dead yet.
100%. It's how do you deal with it? We had this conversation yesterday, right? What do we do? What's the point? How do we overcome the lies? And then just one more, if I may, Crute, indulge me. The RNC from CNN reporting, the RNC last week sent out a scripted call to voters' phones on behalf of the new chair, Lara Trump, saying Democrats committed massive fraud in the 2020 election. The latest example of how the RNC, under the former president's daughter-in-law, is perpetuating lies about the 2020 election, even as prominent Republicans say the party needs to look forward to win in 2024. Here's a quote from the RNC call. We all know the problems. No photo IDs, false. Unsecured ballot drop boxes, false. Mass mailing of ballots. The voter rolls chock full of deceased people and non-citizens are just a few examples of the massive voter fraud that took place. If Democrats have their way, your vote could be canceled out by someone who isn't even an American citizen. I mean, what? I'm supposed to be nice? We're not supposed to call names. We're supposed to meet in the middle for a bunch of folks that are gaslighting the American people, scaring them, lying to them, when it was actually them and their efforts. And Mega Mike and Trump are going to speak on Friday on voter integrity. What? Election integrity? I can take it. Anyone take any of this seriously?
Tom, I'm a little concerned you're You're popping a vein.
Okay, Johnson.
844-967-2789. Mark from the Sack. Welcome back. What do you got?
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, thanks. And Dom, you're speaking my language right now. I mean, we have to confront these guys with every lie they tell. I mean, if I went to a Hubby event and we spoke this stuff, I'd actually get up and say something about it and say, damn be the consequences. And I'd say, if you guys want to start pounding on me for saying this, I just could come out and say, you were actually lying there, sir. And you know damn well that you're lying. And these people know that they're being lied to. And maybe they don't know they're being lied to.
That's what I'm saying, man.
All they're fed is this constant barrage of falsehoods and half truths, and the whole thing. It's in the Ten Commandments. It's not thou shalt not lie. It's thou shalt not bear false witness. And you twist facts around to bear false witness. The whole point is you're supposed to speak honestly. That's what you're supposed to be all about. And this guy is, that I'd say, that I'd ask him, aren't you afraid of going to hell for telling them for bearing false witness here, sir? I mean, it is just, it's beyond me how these guys, God, I wish God had just a bolt of lightning had come down and just hit him on the top of the head.
Smite us all, man.
I've never been afraid of the threat that I'm going to go to hell, Dom, because I figured that's where you and all my friends will be at.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Mark. Nice thing about the Christianity, though, you can just ask for forgiveness, apparently, and all is well. Go and keep on going about your daily lies.
I intend to sin right to the last, and then with my last breath.
What if you don't get a last breath, man? I mean,
ask Jesus for forgiveness. No, I've recorded it on my phone, so I can just play it.
Just over and over again.
My last breath. Please forgive all my sins. Thank you in advance.
Yes.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. We got fine guests joining us very soon, Dom. John Nichols from The Nation, from the Cap Times. You see his most recent piece over at the Cap Times?
I did not.
Fine work.
Yeah, man. He's a busy guy.
John has been lecturing at Yale University. That's what he was doing earlier this week. I actually invited him on a little bit earlier. Well, I felt like saying, I spoke to a high school class once. I've never been invited to lecture at Yale. John, a more esteemed academic than I. He's written more books. Like, by more, I mean more than zero.
Yeah.
I got a book in me. I will have one book before I die. Or I will ask Jesus to forgive this lie I've told you, this bearing a false witness, when I promised you a book, and I go to my grave and I just say, hey, Jesus, sorry, man, another one.
Well, I mean,
just forgive that sin for me, would you?
If you believe it, it's not a lie.
I believe it could be true.
Yeah.
Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. That's Dom. I'm Crute. That's Rich. He's lightly screening your calls. But hold on a minute. We've got a fine guest. He's joining us next. He is John Nichols from The Nation, from the Cap Times. He's a friend of ours. You're going to want to stick around. His latest, and this won't be the only topic for conversation. How's the weather at Yale? That could be conversation worthy, Dom, but his latest at the Cap Times. Biden had a much better Wisconsin primary than Trump did.
Ooh.
Yeah, he did. A hell of a lot better. Come back. More Devil's Advocates with John Nichols, our good friend. Hey, Siri, text John Nichols. You joining us, John? Question mark. 844.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day edition. An eagerly anticipated guest coming soon, I would hope. John Nichols, a traveling day. Maybe he's on an airplane still, maybe a delayed flight. Although I thought the weather glorious across the eastern United States. He should be here now. But anyways, John's an old friend. We'll forgive him for good. But Dom, I got to tell you, today watching this Trump presser, I have never seen sort of the animus against one's political opponent just front and center. I mean, there was no touchy-feely. There was no my opponent says and I disagree. Here, let me just share a little email I got from the Trump campaign. Trump responds to dishonest Joe Biden and his campaign. And apparently the issue is abortion. So here's the facts, according to Trump. If it's a day that ends in Y, dishonest Joe and his team are lying. Let's compare. President Trump could not have been more clear. These decisions, I guess these are abortive decisions, should be left to the states to determine by vote or legislation, or perhaps both. Like Arizona. Although you didn't like the outcome in Arizona. That's also part of the complexity of the issue and your ever-changing stance on abortion. But anyways, back to the Trump facts, if you will, Dom. Again, he couldn't have been more clear, he claims. Dishonest Joe's position is also clear. He supports aborting an unborn child up until the moment of birth and even after birth.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
so Joe's down for post-birth murder. That's apparently, if you believe Trump's email missive, that's the policy of his opponent.
That's not a thing. That's murder. That doesn't happen.
Dom, and he also wants to make the American taxpayers pay for the murder, the post-birth abortion. Joe Biden is weak and a failed president whose agenda is radically out of touch with the majority of Americans. Have you checked your stance on abortion lately? Whether on the issue of abortion, his open border bloodbath, migrant crime, fentanyl overdoses, rising cost of living, and out of control cost of groceries, the Biden misery index is so high that voters are ready to send him packing in November. So, anyways, it was very, bloody knuckled. There was no holding back. It was pretty much just blast the dude. Accuse your opponent of being the worst, most horrible sort of human being. He murders babies. That's literally what this email says. Joe Biden wants to murder babies post-birth. Believe me, that's the truth, right? That's Trump's truth, or so he would tell his followers.
Okay, he just did.
But Trump's got such an evolving stance on the abortion issues. His followers, if you had 10 conservative callers in a row, Dom, they could not describe Trump's position on the abortion issue. Not accurately and consistently, because Trump can't be trusted from minute to minute on this topic.
Trump can't describe it accurately and consistently himself. So you certainly can't assume that the cult followers are going to be able to do so.
Kind of like his net worth, it changes with his mood, Dom.
Yeah.
I bet his mood's bad. His net worth has been off.
DJT keeps going south, baby.
Do you see Forbes, like a week after they listed him on the billionaire list as a rising star with the stock value of the Truthy Social?
Yeah.
Do you see he's been delisted now?
Well, he's fallen.
He's fallen. He's not even on the billionaire list anymore, my understanding.
He is now, according to what I read today, the 666th richest man in the world. I mean, if we're going to say that there's a sign from earthquakes on the East Coast and the moon blocking out the sun and an eclipse in North America is a sign, wouldn't your guy being listed 666 as most wealthiest guy in the world be a sign? Just asking for Marjorie Taylor Greene. 844-967-2789.
I've seen a number of, some would say troubling headlines. I would call a few of them hilarious. Here's an example. Our good friend, James Santel, former U.S. attorney, hashtag James Santel, because he shared this article with us. Mediatouch.com. I don't usually source there, but in this article, Trump's legal team, he hires nothing but the best lawyers. And since we've been on the air, Dom, my understanding, Trump's third attempt to have his Monday trial date delayed has been refused. Game on.
Wow. What's that? One on Monday, one on
Strike
Tuesday, one on Wednesday? Well,
Strike three.
Throw another one out there tomorrow.
Well, anyways, along the same line, Trump's crack legal team apparently subpoenaed the wrong guy. And the subheadline says, "This is embarrassing."
No, really?
A seemingly amateurish move by Donald Trump's legal team was put on full display following an April 8th filing with the Manhattan DA. In a bizarre turn of events, Trump's lawyers apparently subpoenaed the wrong individual for records pertinent to his criminal trial, which begins on Monday, April 15th in New York, Tom. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office revealed that Trump's legal team sought records from a certain Jeremy Rosenberg, an ex-DA investigator. However, it turns out that they targeted the wrong Jeremy Rosenberg. The actual individual, upon being contacted by Trump's attorney, bluntly stated, "I don't have any files for you," before cheekily adding to the postscript, "I'm keeping the $15 in witness travel fees."
Yeah.
They must have prepaid. So he sent, basically a little one-liner, and the email is literally
for you. Here's the response from the wrong Jeremy to Trump's crack legal team, Todd Blanche. "I don't have any files for you. Sincerely, Jeremy. P.S. The phone number you provided is disconnected. P.P.S. I'm keeping the $15. I mean, not only do you lose the $15, now you're gonna have to charge that to Trump, right? That's gonna be Trump's $15. I'm sure he's gonna love that.
Well, he's gonna pass that on to the donors, Tom.
Right. Then you don't have the right phone number or a disconnected phone number. What a maroon.
Dominic, the mix-up was highlighted in a letter from the Manhattan DA addressing Trump's request to enforce a subpoena against Jeremy Rosenberg. Now, if I'm understanding this, Tom, Trump's team still hasn't figured out the fact that they subpoenaed the wrong guy. And they're asking the judge to basically make him talk. The DA's response underscored the glaring error, pointing out that the person served with the subpoena had no connection to the case whatsoever, right? Mistaken identity. The letter also revealed the discrepancy in the service details provided by Trump's legal team. The court filing was first reported by Frank Runyon, a New York court reporter on Law 360. But, and here's a huge but, Tom. Despite the obvious misunderstanding, Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, doubled down on the validity of the subpoena, citing legal statutes and emphasizing the importance of obtaining the requested documents. The attorney, seemingly unaware that he'd apparently subpoenaed a random individual, described the response he received from the unrelated Rosenberg as flippant and dismissive.
And rightfully so.
Blanche's response seemed to downplay the gravity of the error, focusing instead on the necessity of a subpoena and ensuring Trump's access to the pertinent communications. However, his insistence on pursuing the subpoena only served to highlight the ineptitude of Trump's legal team in this instance. Well, never
any other instances.
We got a fine guest joining us live via phone right now. He is John Nichols from The Nation, from the Cap Times, a traveling man. How you doing, John?
Hey, John.
I'm good, brother. Sorry to be coming in late. My apologies.
Dom comes in hot sometimes too. Helicopters in for the show.
But he's a big star.
Well, not everyone lectures in Cambridge, Massachusetts, John. I hear getting a flight back is terrible.
It was in New Haven.
Oh.
But the flight isn't. Yeah, you got to go through Chicago so you can put the pieces that you want into that puzzle.
John, we're just glad you made it under any circumstance. I don't know if you've been seeing some of the recent, John, but I got to tell you, this has got to be the most bloody-knuckled presidential campaign I've ever seen. And we're not even to summer yet, John. I mean, I saw Trump today on the tarmac in Atlanta doing an impromptu press conference. And I mean, basically he's calling Joe Biden a baby murderer. That's his current position. He claims Biden's stance is post-birth abortion. And of course, we all know that's a lie. But John, I mean, he's just flinging it. And I think Biden often is responding in kind.
Yeah, I think you're about right. But remember that Trump this week softened his stance on abortion. So does that make him a partial baby murderer?
He's had a moving target on this issue, has he not, John? I mean, Trump's hard to pin down on abortion.
If he's accusing Biden of stuff, when he softens his stance on it, isn't he kind of leaning into where Biden is at? And if that's the case, then, I'm not sure he's got a lot of ground to stand on in attacking the president. But obviously, you're right at your core point, which is that this is already an ugly campaign. It's going to get a lot uglier. One of the reasons for that is that the people running the campaign know a simple reality, that no one in America, I shouldn't say no one, just about no one in America is overly excited about this race, right? They see two older guys that they already have had to deal with in the past, and, there's just not a lot of enthusiasm. So the basic concept for both campaigns is to scare the hell out of people, right? To make them think that if they don't come vote for candidate A or candidate B, the whole world is going to collapse. And so they've gone to that sort of language, and it may help in some senses with mobilization, but they both also do run the risk that people are just going to say, oh, you're both right. The other guy's horrible. I don't like either of you. And they either don't vote or they start to explore third-party candidates.
John, let me ask you, the Arizona Supreme Court obviously made an unexpected ruling, at least I wasn't expecting it, to pop into the news cycle yesterday. And we know that this will be a ballot issue in Arizona in the fall, but they went with a very extreme abortion ban, turned the clock back to 1864. Reminds me of Wisconsin's current dilemma. But this is a big dilemma for Republicans, I think, John. The number of times their extremism on the issue of abortions being played out through headline after headline, I think, is got to be a rallying call for women and blue voters. John, am I wrong about that? Or is this the issue of the elective cycle currently?
No, that is the issue. And it's a very fascinating thing because, back in 2022, when the Dobbs decision came down, people were saying, it's a big issue, but it's not going to be a big issue for long. It'll kind of die out. People's attention span will go elsewhere, et cetera. That has not proven to be the case. There is simply no question that abortion rights remains a major mobilizing issue for the Democrats. There's a real question, is it enough? And that is a factor. But there's no question that it's the best thing they've got right now. And it is one that clearly, from past pattern, mobilizes women, you're right, but also mobilizes young voters across the board, male and female. And that makes sense, right? I mean, they're in a point in their lives where these issues are very real, they matter to them a lot. And so I do think that having these ballot issues on the line in November in Arizona and in Florida, and frankly in several other states, is going to be very likely to the good for the Democrats. And, it could even theoretically bring Florida into play. Now, Arizona is definitely going to be in play. There's no doubt of that. But the notion that a ballot issue could mobilize sufficient people to make Florida competitive is a fascinating development, and one that, it bodes well for Biden in that regard.
John Nichols, your travel itinerary cuts us too short, man. We need more Nichols. Can you stick around for one more segment?
I'll give you a segment, brother.
All right. More John Nichols, more Devil's Advocate. Stick around. Tom, you may even get a question in.
All right.
844-967-2789. You know the number.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. The Devil's Advocates.
And thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. John Nichols, our friend from the Cap Times and the Nation magazine, sticking around for one more segment. John, thank you for carving out some time for us today. Initially, wanted to have a conversation with you, your opinion piece, that Biden had a much better Wisconsin primary than Trump did. I'm curious, John, how did you come to that conclusion? What's your math?
Got to turn them on. Hold on, John. We'll get to you. There you are. Welcome,
go.
John.
Am I on?
You're on. I can hear you now.
There you go. I can hear you now, too. The answer to your question is pretty simple. Both the Democrats and Republicans had roughly the same level of turnout in their primaries, around 600,000 votes. The Republicans marginally more, but not enough to worry about. Biden faced a genuine challenge. He had the unobstructed campaign, which was really out there. They were doing phone calls, mailings, rallies. They had endorsements from a number of legislators and local elected officials. So he clearly had some effort to get people to vote in another way. And Trump didn't have any of that. All of his opponents had withdrawn. There was no organized campaign against him whatsoever. So what happened? Biden got 89% of the Democratic vote. Trump got 79%, 78% of the Republican vote. And Biden actually got 35,000 more votes last Tuesday than Trump did. And so by any measure, if you just look at those two ballot lines, obviously it's not the same as a general election. Totally understand that. But if we are in a period where the point of elections is to mobilize your voters, to get them excited to come out and cast a ballot for you, Biden actually on primary day did better than Trump.
John, how impactful do you think the third-party candidates will be, in this case, Kennedy, going forward in this election?
Oh, I think they're impactful at this point. I mean, there's no doubt that the polling data shows that Kennedy is getting a decent number of votes. I mean, it varies a lot in the polls, but there's many polls in Wisconsin and elsewhere that have showed him at a double digit. And even if that collapses down substantially, when you think that Wisconsin is a state where 4 of the last 6 presidential elections have been decided by under 25,000 votes, the notion that you've got somebody who could peel off, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10% of the vote, and then another percentage or so, or a few percentages go to Jill Stein, Cornel West, a libertarian candidate. I think third-party candidates could play a real role. The complexity is that they don't play a predictable role. And one of the things that's really interesting about Kennedy is that he draws significantly from both Biden and from Trump. And so the real question is, what does Kennedy become as you get toward November? Is he a candidate who's kind of running more to the left and trying to draw from Biden? Or is he a candidate who, with his conspiracy theories, things like that, draws more from Trump? I can tell you at this point that the Trump people are kind of scared of Kennedy. They've shown signs of being concerned about him as an opponent. So we'll see where it plays. But there's no doubt that the third-party candidates are likely to be a factor, especially in Wisconsin.
Joe Biden was in glorious Madison, Wisconsin just the other day, John. I had the opportunity to attend the rally, something of a newsworthy event, student loan debt relief. He's proposed another crack at it, a handful of qualifying criterion. John, do you think this is the sort of issue that galvanizes young people? I would take note of the fact there was also an anti-Palestinian policy, anti-Gaza protest group outside this rally at MATC in Madison, sort of contradictions in where the young people find each other. But John, what do you think about the debt relief? Good politics at this time?
Sure, debt relief is good politics. Getting rid of people's debt's always going to be something that folks like. The question is whether the people believe it's going to happen, right? Because Biden has taken a couple whacks at this piñata and hasn't been able to knock it down. So it's certainly a good policy, certainly a good effort to make, not guaranteed to really move the kind of numbers that I think some Democrats would hope. I do think the issue you were talking about before, abortion rights, tends to move young people a lot, and that we saw in the Supreme Court race last year, other contests. And you are exactly right to bring up Gaza. The people who were protesting outside Biden's event on behalf of saving Gaza from the assault it's under, I mean, a lot of them are very passionate. A lot of them are very young. And I think the thing that you look for even more than a rally outside of an event is the numbers from the Democratic primary. And in the 5 wards, or 5 aldermanic districts that are in and around the UW campus, uninstructed, which is the vote of protest as regards Gaza policy, got around 30 to 35% of the vote.
Wow.
That's a lot of votes.
Yep.
And if Biden loses a third, if he were to lose a third of the student vote in Wisconsin, it'd be very, very hard for him to carry the state, I think. So, because students have really been a huge force in kind of putting Democrats over the top in the last 2 cycles. So Gaza is an issue. I'm not saying that Biden would necessarily lose that much, but the numbers suggest a possibility there, and it's got to be something the Biden people are concerned about.
John Nichols, how do you think Trump's team has played this? Trump keeps coming out and bashing the Jewish people and saying, no self-respecting Jew would ever vote for a Democrat.
Yeah.
I'm not clear. This seems like it might be falling flat, if you know what I mean. He did it again at the airport in Atlanta, Georgia today. He was trying that same line, but effectively the protest against Joe Biden is not for his lack of support for Israel. It's that is the problem in the opinion of many. So, anyways, John, your thought on that topic.
Yeah, the number, look, this issue is going to pull you in a lot of directions. Traditionally, Jewish American voters have voted heavily Democratic, in the 70 to 80% range. And polling doesn't suggest that there's going to be a big slippage there. Now, one thing to understand is that there are a lot of Jewish American voters who are very, very concerned about what's going on in Gaza, who don't like what Netanyahu's doing. So it's not, like communities just fall into simple, pigeonholes, and you say, well, this is where these people are going to go, this is where those people are going to go. It doesn't really work like that. And so the way to understand it is that the Jewish American community is diverse, does tend to be Democratic. I don't imagine that a tremendous number of them are going to go over and vote for Donald Trump. Now, there is a possibility that some portion of folks just don't vote at the top of their ballot, just are so frustrated or upset. This could happen with Muslim Americans and Jewish Americans. And that's something that both sides are going to have to deal with. But the one thing about Trump is that I think somebody who's concerned about Gaza, and frankly, in general about Israel and Palestine, if you look at Trump's 4 years as president, there was very little that Trump did that actually improved relations.
John, got to cut you short. Always great to hear from John Nichols from The Nation, the Cap Times. We'll catch up real soon. A happier happy hour And your calls could be next. 844-96-PARTY.
The Devil's Advocates radio show is broadcast under a time brokerage agreement between Devil Radio and Civic Media, Inc. Some portions of this program may be pre-recorded. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Civic Media Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
And now, here's your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Hump Day edition. Wednesday, Dom. A happier happy hour rolling into it. Got Rich lightly screening your phone calls. And I got to think the walls are closing in on Donald Trump right about now. As we mentioned in the last hour, there is breaking news on Trump's latest effort to delay his trial. Washington Post reporting, Trump tries and fails to delay New York criminal trial for a third time this week. Strike three, fella.
Oh, man.
A little of the coverage here. Dateline New York. Donald Trump's lawyers Wednesday failed to persuade an appeals court judge to delay the former president's New York criminal trial scheduled to begin Monday, that's next week, Dom, by saying the presiding judge was not qualified to oversee the proceedings and that a postponement was necessary. You must decide whether or not you are qualified to hear my trial. And the judge said,
not qualified.
And the judge said, but I am. Now, appeals court judge Ellen Gessmer denied Trump's request shortly after it was filed. 5-10 minutes? How long do you think it took? It was Trump's lawyer's third attempt this week to delay his trial for allegedly falsifying business documents to help cover up an affair before the 2016 election. I would call that voter deception, Dom. Anyways, Trump, the first ex-president to face criminal prosecution. The first ex-president to face criminal prosecution, has been indicted in 3 other jurisdictions and has pled not guilty to all counts.
Crute, Trump lawyer Emil Bove argued in an emergency proceeding before Gessmer that the New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan should have recused himself. Prosecutors and an attorney from the courts who represented Merchan said a delay was unwarranted. Merchan last year declined to step down from the New York criminal case after Trump's lawyers filed a complaint about the judge's daughter's profession as a political consultant and his small contribution to Joe Biden's 2020 presidential campaign and a progressive group. Merchan's adult daughter owns a political consulting and marketing company, which has worked on campaign materials for the Biden-Harris campaign, Rep. Adam Schiff, and other prominent Democrats. Trump lawyers recently filed a new motion arguing Merchan must recuse himself in the interest of fairness. It was not immediately clear whether Merchan had ruled, but a decision was not public. Judges in New York State are supposed to bow out of situations where there may be an appearance of favoritism. Jury selection is scheduled to start on Monday in Manhattan for Trump's first of 4 criminal trial and the first ever criminal trial of a former president. He is the likely Republican nominee, yada, yada, yada. On Tuesday, a New York appeals court judge denied Trump's request to delay the trial, and a gag order against him imposed by Merchan remained in effect. A different appeals court judge on Monday rejected Trump's attempt to delay the trial, while Trump pursued an appeal to determine whether a change of venue is necessary outside Manhattan, a largely liberal part of the state. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What do you think the odds are he'll file some other appeal for some reason tomorrow? And
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He'll still be
Sunday.
We'll write the whole document, but you'll only need the edge. I suspect they'll still be putting out delay tactics as late as Monday morning, Dom. They'll be seeking any sort of Hail Mary, because this will literally be the first trial of a former president, criminal trial. Obviously, he also has the unprecedented position of being the first former president civilly found responsible for sexually battering a woman, rape.
Right.
And, above and beyond that, defrauding the state of New York to the tune of nearly $500 million. Oh, yeah. The other thing that comes due on Monday, a second look at his bond, Dom, because my understanding, maybe it's not quite that soon, but his bond is not acceptable. The $175 million bond, we talked about the fact it says, and if it's unsuccessful, Trump will pay. But the whole reason you have a bonder is to say we will pay for an acceptable deposit that, the defendant has put
Which is
down.
the full amount plus 10% generally. And now it's 175 mil down from the 454, and it's really not even that.
It's going to be a bad day for Trump come Monday, Dom.
Monday. And don't worry, and it's tax day. So the guy
suckers pay their taxes.
He's going to be also on that day signing whatever fraudulent, probably tax filing he's going to do, because that's how he rolls.
You mean his continuance? I know I'll be signing mine. Dom, more breaking news as we've been on the air here in the Happier Happy Hour. We talked about this surprising Arizona Supreme Court ruling that effectively threw that state back to the 1864 law. And surprisingly, and Jack from Merrimack had pointed out, well, didn't they pass a 15-week abortion ban in the state of Arizona? So effectively, you allowed an 1864 law to supersede current law. And I think it's a keen observation, Jack. Here's the latest from Arizona. My source, The Guardian. Arizona Republicans block abortion ban repeal after denouncing court ruling. So yesterday, they hated this ruling. Today, they blocked the repeal of the 1864 law. It's being reported. Republicans in Arizona halted an effort by Democrats on Wednesday, that's today, Dom, to repeal an 1864 law banning almost all abortions, which the state Supreme Court this week ruled could go into effect. The move came after Republican lawmakers in the state had denounced the court's decision, including some who had previously expressed support for the law. Looking at you, Carrie Lake. Oh, well, here she is. Donald Trump and other high-profile Republicans, such as Senate candidate Carrie Lake, had also declared their opposition to the ruling, Lake urging lawmakers to come up with an immediate common-sense solution that Arizonans can support. Well, even Donald Trump said that in the tarmac. This is going to get fixed very quickly. He supported this. He bragged about overturning the Roe v. Wade through the Dobbs decision, impaneling the justices on the Supreme Court. Whether or not they were worthy, he put them there. He bragged about that again today. He did so in a video on Monday stating his abortion stance. But he's always changing his mind, Tom. Because in the same breath, he said, no, it's a states' rights issue, but Arizona went too far. But Arizona will solve this problem very rapidly. Well, the rapid solution offered by the Democrats was rejected today by the Republicans. Repeal the 1864 law. To my understanding, Dom, that would have put the 15-week abortion ban passed by the current legislature and signed by the governor into law. That would be the current. No, we're back to 1864. A little bit more here. The Arizona Supreme Court ruled on Tuesday that the 1864 law can go into effect, though it may not happen for weeks, under the law which predates Arizona's statehood. Do you know how many people lived in Arizona approximately when this law was enacted, Dom?
In 1864, no, how many?
Totality in the Arizona territory.
Yeah.
About 6,300 people total lived in the territory. None of them, at least none of the voters, were women, of course. What else? That's I guess, the breaking. Dom, Democrats and one Republican lawmaker sought to repeal the law, but Republicans moved for a recess, preventing a vote on the matter.
I had heard that.
Run the legislature in Arizona. They control the action on the floor. If you've got something we don't want to get pressured, we'll just declare a recess. We'll take our ball and go home.
But it'll be fixed promptly, according to the former president. And it was a Republican, along with many Democrats, wanting to repeal this law. And the majority of Republicans, the leadership, We're calling a recess. Call a recess. We're not going to deal with this right now. Gotta go. Gotta go.
This would have been such an easy way out for Arizona Republicans. I mean, this is an inflaming issue that's going to change potentially the outcome of the Arizona Senate race, perhaps the presidential race at the top of the ticket. I mean, this changes the dynamic in Arizona. And Republicans had an easy out. Just let Democrats be. I mean, you could still characterize them post-birth abortion. I mean, you know what I mean?
No, you can't.
Well, they would continue to do so, but they chose not to take the easy exit.
Well, is it easy?
Now they own it.
The leadership in the state Senate, the leadership in the state assembly wrote an amicus brief trying to convince the Arizona State Supreme Court to do this. Are you surprised that they went into recess?
No.
They don't want this, man. Because what are they going to do? They got to deal with all their religious nut jobs who think that, Joe Biden wants to murder kids after they're born. This is the reality of what that party has gotten into. So they're already losing the Republicans on the hard right, pro-forced government birthing lobby. They're already starting to lose them. If the Republicans, after filing this amicus brief, after doing everything they can, allowed this 15-week law to go back into effect by repealing this 1864 law, well, they'd slice off more of the Republican mega support. It's a lose-lose for them.
Isaac, we see you. You're first in the queue. Like to hear from Georgia, 844-967-2789. Also, Dom, a story out of Florida. The Florida GOP chair, he had a hell of a bender of a week.
Trashing hotel rooms. Wow. Man, I thought
got to be some kind of a rock star for that, don't you?
Yeah,
I don't recall. I mean, pulled out of hotel rooms by police before, but never because we trashed the place.
Not like that, man. Don't you know who I think I am?
Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. That's who we think we are. Some call us the greatest radio show ever. Mostly us, but we're right. And you're right for listening. Isaac, you be patient. You're first on the phones. Get in the queue. 844-967-2789. I can't wait for the Trump trial on Monday. But first, Friday, Dom. Trump and MAGA Mike. I think he's a anti-abortion guy in his own regard.
Yeah,
they're also election integrity experts. They're having a presser on Friday. We'll talk.
I know all about it.
The Devil's Advocates. So relevant, they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
And welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Join us on the lines, 844-967-2789. Crute, a little note here. The bond issue we were talking about, New York Attorney General Tish James. She's going to have a hearing on Monday, April 22nd. So a week from
Monday.
A week from Monday. After
the
trial starts, then Tish James is going to put a microscope up the $175 million and see how real that is in a week.
I'm looking forward to that. And of course, the U.S. Supreme Court hearing oral arguments April 25th about presidential immunity. What an asinine circumstance that will be, but it will make for interesting talk radio here on the greatest radio show ever.
The fall of Western civilization will be on the radio.
May you live in interesting times then.
Indeed.
844-967-2789. Isaac calling in from Georgia. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hi, Isaac.
Oh, hey, how's it going, y'all?
Good.
Y'all were talking about the 1864 law. I'm just worried about other 1800s laws. Like, do you think they're going to start burning witches?
Well, that might predate the 1800s. If they could, I think the Marjorie Taylor Greens would be all down for the barbecue. I'm just saying that, Isaac. And she's from your state.
Burn witches?
Isaac,
There's witches everywhere.
Isaac, Marjorie Taylor Greene serves from the state of Georgia. How's that make you feel?
I don't know who that is.
Well, I'm sorry. That's the wrong answer. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a congresswoman from the state of Georgia who has made a point of being disruptive in the House of Representatives. And recently, she said that the eclipse and the reported,
The
earthquake in New York were signs from God. And then she got really mad when people made fun of her for saying that. That was on top of her earlier statement about these Jewish space lasers. And she has also filed a motion to vacate the Speaker of the House, MAGA Mike Johnson. So she is a chaos agent from your state, Isaac. But if you listen to the Devil's Advocates each and every day, we'll teach you more about this stuff. Very important.
We'll get you up to speed, man. I'll tell you this, Isaac, why don't you run against her? Anything would be better, my friend.
844-967-2789. Dom, the social D, the prison bound, that's a request going out for Alvin Bragg.
Yeah, baby.
Did you see the former Trump org CFO has been neutralized? They sent his ass to Rikers Island.
Again.
And yes, he's been sent to Rikers Island, apparently for perjuring himself, which he has now pled guilty, and been sentenced to 5 additional months at Rikers Island.
And I wonder if he gets his old bed back. You know, does he?
That's not Club Fed, Dom. Rikers Island is not a nice place. I've seen some documentaries on that. Overcrowded. And here is a little of the reporting at the Raw Story, one of my favorite aggregators. Trump CFO sent to Rikers facility that holds inmates with contagious diseases. Here
there's a lot of that Trump infection going around.
Former Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg Wednesday was sent to Rikers Island, facility that houses inmates with contagious diseases, according to city records. Weisselberg's new address at the West facility appeared on New York City's Correctional Department website hours after he was sentenced following a guilty plea to 2 counts of felony perjury. Now, consider this. He perjured himself at the fraud trial for the Trump Organization.
Yes.
And Trump's going on trial again on Monday for what? Financial dealings.
A criminal trial,
And
not the civil trial like the fraud trial.
This is a criminal trial, but you guess who the defense is going to have a hard time calling as a defense witness?
Yeah.
The CFO, Alan Weisselberg, who has shown a propensity to perjure himself at trial. I mean, why would he have not repeated this effort at the Trump criminal trial? Tried to scuttle it, if you will, through false testimony. Well, now it's going to be hard because he's sitting his ass at Rikers Island for perjuring at the last trial feloniously, for which he's been convicted. No allegedly necessary, Dom. The lockup at 1606 Hazen Street in Queens. Here's the quote, Dom. Houses inmates with contagious diseases as part of the Correction Department's Communicable Disease Unit. Multiple city records show. Wonder what he's got, Dom. The West facility also includes single-cell units. Oh, this is it. He's going into isolation. Separate from the ward, according to the department, it features in a recent New York One report about one detainee's report on conditions to Rikers Island's Oversight Board. Virgil Carter reportedly said he was housed in the Communicable Disease Unit for solitary confinement purposes. Well, you can't put Weisselberg and General Pop, some MAGA Aryan Brotherhood guy, off his ass.
Oh, come on. He's the good soldier, brother. What are you talking about? He's lying and going to Rikers for Donald Trump. Isn't he still on Trump's payroll?
Dominic, Jennifer Parrish of the Urban Justice Center told New York One detainees are locked in the West facility units for up to 24 hours a day. Probably going in a solitary unit for 24 hours a day. Talking about going stir crazy. Christopher Boyle of the New York County Defender Services said of solitary Rikers units, there are rats, there are mice dropping, there are insects all around. They are screaming for attention from the officers who are basically ignoring them. I mean, it doesn't sound like humane treatment, but you get what you deserve eventually, Dom. I'd like to think. In December, one West facility detainee appeared in a New York Daily News report about accusations that he'd crept out of his locked cell, smashed a female officer's body camera, and bit her wrist. Strange. Weisselberg, who served as Trump's family accountant previously, was sentenced to 5 months for tax evasion as part of a criminal investigation into the Trump's organization accounting last year. He was released after serving 3 months. And according to Business Insider reports from January of 2023, this will be a return visit to the West facility for Weisselberg. But he does get his own unit.
Well, call it the West Wing. Trump will join you there soon.
He's in the safest and the nicest area to serve in Rikers. Jail reform advocate 5 Malmick Act told Business Insider. The report notes, like all inmates there to serve a sentence, Weisselberg will be required to work, most likely in the kitchen or the bakery. Prison bound. Weisselberg received another 5 months Wednesday and went directly to jail. Did not collect $200. Did not pass go after pleading guilty to lying under oath in Trump's civil trial, in which he falsely claimed he had not been involved in evaluating the square footage of Trump Tower. Apparently, that was a big lie.
So
now,
Michael goes to jail. Michael Cohen has been to jail. Well, what about Trump? What about Trump?
Monday is the start of another day for him, Dom. Very desperate, dark and desperate time in the Trump life. I think Monday is going to be the worst day of the rest of his life until now. Because it could get worse from there.
Until Tuesday, man.
Until conviction day. And, I cannot imagine Trump would end up in Rikers. Or like Club Fed. Come back with us. Depends, though. New York State trial. It's going to New York prison. We are the Devil's Advocates. I hate to be gleeful about the soon-to-be incarceration of Alan Weisselberg
being served. Always.
Going back to jail.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day edition. Rolling through a happier happy hour. Your call is always welcome here. 844-967-2789. Dom, I want to put some good news out there. There was a missing persons report in the state of Florida this past week, and there was some great concern for an adult male, George Wolf Riley Jr., who had gone missing. His family didn't know where he was, and this had been a matter of days. So they called the cops, and they found him, and he has been recovered in what they describe as good health, Dom. I found this story at the Daily Beast. Let me read. When George Riley Jr.'s family reported him missing last week, the 43-year-old, oh yeah, his job, Dom, he's the Florida Republican Party executive director.
Ooh, that sounds very fancy, like very high up in the Florida Republican Party. Isn't that
like he
lives in Florida, right? That's Trump's party. Okay.
Trump does live in Florida. And this Florida man, this George Riley Jr., the executive director of the Republican Party, apparently was hiding out at the local Hampton Inn, laying waste to everything within reach. That's according, Dom, to a police report obtained by the Tampa Bay Times, which said Riley, 43, was thrown out of the hotel on Wednesday thanks to, and here's a quote, extensive drinking and damage caused to the room.
Was he partying with Joe Walsh? What's going on in Florida, man?
I don't know. Hotel employees said Riley had urinated and vomited throughout.
What? No, hang on. Let's just take a breather here, Crute. You and I,
we've just reading the quotes. I just read the quotes.
We've been in hotel rooms together a few times. Had many late nights, many miles, between us here. Never threw up all over a hotel room. Never urinated all over a hotel room. What? This is the very he's the Florida Republican Party executive director.
Well, it was a multi-day bender, Tom. Hotel employees, again, let me read the quotes here, please.
Yeah.
Hotel employees said Riley had urinated and vomited throughout, trashed the room's electric blinds, and apparently, Dom, he was charged an additional fee for deep cleaning to try and undo the mess. Yes, the vomiting and urination all over the room dissuades the next day at the Hampton Inn.
Right. Hey, but good news, he wasn't smoking any cigarettes in the room.
Come on, man. Whoever drank to point of urinating and vomiting in the hotel room without smoking something? I'm just telling you, he's probably smoking alongside. That's the least of his concerns, apparently. Dom, in a statement to the Tampa Bay Times, Riley said, and this feels very sincere, because once you've been caught, I'm deeply sorry.
I've been deeply, deeply sorry.
I'm deeply sorry. I've been dealing with alcoholism and mental health issues. Well, what a fine candidate you are then for executive director of the Republican Party of Florida.
It's not like he was getting into threesomes or anything like that.
Wasn't that the last director of the Republican Party in Florida? Anyways, I will pay for any damages that were caused. Yeah, no doubt.
You just think?
They'll sue your ass otherwise. I apologize to the employees for my bad behavior, and I'll be seeking help soon. Soon, Dom.
Soon, okay.
Dom, he hopes his planned recovery will make him a better father, a better person, and a better all-around employee.
Wait,
I think he's just following the lead of Rudy Giuliani right about now.
So he left the fam for days. No one knew where he was.
Not spending more time with the family, spending less time with the family.
Wow.
On April 2nd, Dom, Riley's family told police they hadn't been able to reach him since March 29th, understanding there are 31 days in March. So this had been, 4 or 5 days. Riley was found Friday by deputies with the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, 2 days after leaving the Hampton Inn and reunited with his relatives over the weekend. Where'd he go next?
The
They
Red
don't like me
Roof
at the Hampton Inn. I mean, he's on to the bad La Quinta, Dom.
Not the good one, the bad one.
The bad
That's on
one.
the other side of Port Washington. Christian Ziegler, he was the chairman of the Republican Party, has been suspended. That was the threesome guy with the Moms for Liberty co-founder Bridget. So he was the chairman, not the executive director, whatever the difference is.
The chairman was the guy that was thrown out for the accused rape, right? It wasn't the threesome that was problematic. It was the fact that the former threesome partner he went over and allegedly raped, although apparently he also videotaped the escapade and claims that's somehow exonerating.
I think those charges were they dropped? He denies being I'm not clear on how that all came to conclusion.
Well, he did tell them he wasn't quitting. They'd have to buy him out.
Buy me out.
You know, I can appreciate the attitude. 844-967-2789.
All right. Well, a couple of positions open in Florida. I mean, we got George Riley and we got this Christensen guy. So, you know, if you're down for the Republicans and you're looking to, get involved in your local political party, there might be a few openings at the Florida GOP for you.
Now, that state apparently they think might be in play due to legalized recreational marijuana on the ballot. Also, the abortion issue is going to be on the ballot there because Florida, similarly to Arizona, had a Supreme Court ruling that was very draconian, and then also a kicker, a referendum on the ballot, which should turn out the base. And I'm not sure what that means for Florida, Dom, but my understanding is the Biden campaign will put resources in Florida. They think these two referendum issues will excite the electorate and will get them out to vote and could make Florida in play. And that would certainly shape the electoral map.
Changes the whole thing. Yeah.
A Democrat hasn't won Florida since Obama. So anyways, if Florida's in play, it's a whole new map. Another Florida person, Judge Eileen Cannon, Dom. I don't know if you know, but she apparently has wiped the classified documents case off the July trial calendar. That's the latest being reported. No way that's happening now.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Judge Cannon effectively eliminates July trial schedule. U.S. District Judge, I hate calling her that, District Court Judge Eileen Cannon effectively eliminated the possibility that former President Donald Trump could go to trial in July for allegedly mishandling classified documents. We need allegedly at this point. And in order on Wednesday, Cannon said Trump had until May 9th to disclose which classified documents he would use for his defense. Guardian reporter Hugo Lowell pointed out that the special counsel, Jack Smith, had proposed March 18th. That's quite a difference in timing, Dom, for Trump to file his notice under Section 5 of the Classified Information Procedures Act, CIPA. That's not an unreasonable length of time to give Trump. It's typical to give defendants in the NatSec cases several weeks to draft their Section 5 notice, so it's sufficiently specific. But a May 9th deadline might be frustrating for the special counsel. You think? I mean, Jack Smith's got to be ready to lose his freaking mind on this hack partisan. Why did he not ask her to recuse like Trump does of every single trial judge? Recuse. Why did Jack Smith ask?
Because he's not.
My perception of
not a hack like Trump's attorneys. And once you go down that road, there's really no going back, and it further delays the trial. Now he may eventually get there, but he's exercising, I guess, a modicum of self-restraint. Back to the Raw story. Special counsel proposed a March 18th deadline for Trump to file a Section 5 notice in order to get a July 24 trial. No way that's happening now, given the deadline is 7 weeks later. But she also didn't give Trump until June 17th like he wanted. So no 11th Circuit ammo either. So he's not going to run this up the flagpole. Of course, he faces 37 criminal charges related to the illegal retention of classified documents as Florida State after leaving. The charges include violations of the Espionage Act, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and making false statements to investigators. The most serious among these are 31 counts under the Espionage Act, which could lead up to 10 years in prison for each count. Ugh. I mean, so the election interference, trial in Manhattan, starting on Monday, is small potatoes compared to what this could be. And let's assume, and I don't think Trump's going to win. Let's assume Trump does not win, and this trial gets delayed until whenever. And presumably, let's just walk down the road. He gets convicted on at least some of those charges. Well, the man's going to get convicted in New York. I mean, presumably, unless there's some sort of Trumpian person on the jury that for no reason will not, under any circumstance, vote for him to be guilty, regardless of the preponderance of evidence in that case. But he could be sitting in jail for the state crimes. He'd be sitting in jail for the federal crimes. I mean, 10 years times 31 counts, man. You do that math. And I got to tell you, I know we're all kind of like, when's this going to start? Starting Monday, folks. And while these things continue to be delayed, we know criminal trial starts Monday. That's going to be the focus on the effort. And for several weeks after that, we're going to be thinking about it, talking about it, evaluating what is going on. And the clock will continue to tick. The earth will continue to spin. And next thing you know, a week from then, we got Tish James, putting a microscope on the $175 million fraudulent bond deal. I mean, who does a fraudulent bond deal who just got convicted of fraud? I mean, allegedly. We'll see if there's any weight to that. And then after that, we have these other, in April, end of April, right? The U.S. Supreme Court is going to evaluate whether or not the former president has absolute immunity. He doesn't. And once that hammer drops, boom, Chutkan's going to put that thing on trial. So he could be on trial for that during the RNC here in the great city of Milwaukee.
I don't want to burst your bubble, fella. I know you were the bubble burster on the show for years. That was sort of your role.
I mean,
we will get one trial only. We get one bite at the apple. The New York trial, the voter deception trial, the hush money to a porn star, the former president raw dogged. That trial that begins on Monday, I suspect will be the only trial between here
Why do you think
and election day.
Why wouldn't Chutkan's trial start before November, dude? What? Why?
First, you got to get a ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court, right?
Right.
On the whole question of presidential immunity. They dragged it out until April 25th before oral arguments. They're not going to drop anything until the end of June. And then you got to get on the federal trial schedule of a judge. So let's add 2 months onto that. I mean, maybe September.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Or any other delays pushes it beyond the election, Dom. Even if they rolled out the trial in September, they would not get to a point of conviction between there and election day. I would strongly suspect the trial would last beyond September. Hell, it could last beyond 2 months. September, October, and then effectively you've got an election first week of November.
So you're telling me, like, during the most critical part of the presidential campaign, the evidence
being campaigning from the courthouse lawn,
the evidence being presented in trial, and therefore to the American people, on how the current Republican leader was trying to subvert democracy in this country. It'll be on the news every single night, reminding every single voter of what a POS this guy is and how dangerous it would be if he gets that. And then after all that, what, you think he gets elected? Hell's to the no, dude.
Well, you say it will be on every station. It won't. It won't be on Fox News, not with consistency, not with the sort of clear, factual-based coverage.
They won't be able to avoid it.
You think they'll be covering that? They'll provide a platform for the former president to sit there and lie through his teeth and deny all the evidence you heard. And again, these won't be a bunch of Democrats. These will be a bunch of Trump confidants, people that worked in his corporation, his former fixer, Michael Cohen. Oh, yeah. And Stormy Daniels. And one more, Dom. There is some indication being made by Trump's legal team that he intends to give testimony. Please, for the love of God, put him on the stand. Do it. Do it.
Absolutely.
That would perhaps lead to a 5-month stay in Rikers for perjury charges.
Well, like old times, the CFO might still be there.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more of your phone calls as well. One last segment to throw in your hot takes. 844-967-2789.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
You're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, our last segment of the day. If you have something to say, hit us up on the lines at 844-967-2789. Callers, be patient. Rich will get to you. In the meantime, we'll start with Nick from Madtown. Welcome, Nick. What do you got for us?
Hey, guys. Been a while. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, likewise.
Two things. Yeah, two things. First, Kurt, you said something yesterday. I didn't get to talk to you, but you said that there are probably more people listening to you than are watching CNN. I think you're probably right. Yeah. If the
Maybe a
numbers
slight
point out,
exaggeration,
yeah,
but
right.
the greatest radio show ever, man. We're probably speaking to billions right now.
At least.
Yeah, it's probably accurate. Okay, but what I want to talk about, since you were talking about judges, is and this is something that you brought up yesterday. I didn't get to talk about. Sorry if I'm off topic. I just got home, but I personally don't think judges should be elected at all. I think they should be appointed. There should be terms, and different governors should appoint them. But I don't think they should be elected because I know nothing about the law.
What about the
And
federal
the thing
judiciary, Nick? Someone like Eileen Cannon, we're talking about the West Palm Beach, the classified documents case. She seems completely unqualified. She has a lifetime judicial appointment from Donald Trump, and she is bent over backwards first to try and push a special master out there, which was ridiculous. She got shot down by the 11th Circuit. Now she's made every endeavor she can to tilt the scales of justice to the benefit of Donald Trump. You know, by your prior statement here, Nick, you'd prefer the Eileen Cannon route.
No, I also never mentioned lifetime appointments, but I don't believe in that either anymore.
Well, then how are we going to pick them? If not by election or lifetime appointment, you want them to be above reproach. You would like to think that these judges, you know, they're not in it for a 2-year term or whatever the case may be. So how do you compromise between a lifetime appointment and no elections?
Okay, I've actually thought about this, and I would say that any judge who is appointed their term should end when whoever appointed them will no longer be in office. So they don't know who's going to appoint them again.
That'd be chaos.
They can be reappointed.
Nick, that would be chaos in the judiciary, because every time a federal judge is appointed, they have to go through a Senate confirmation process. Let's not forget how your friends, the Republicans, blocked so many of the judicial appointments of Obama. Then they opened up the floodgates for Trump with appointments like Eileen Cannon. And, you know, if we lose 1 or 2 seats in the Senate, Joe Biden won't have the opportunity to place any judiciary on the court.
Well, look at this from another angle. If we're talking about elected judges, let's say you are on trial for a crime you didn't commit, okay? But the judge is up for an election, and he's probably going to go harder on you because
are we talking about
want to look soft on
Judge Darrow down in Waukesha County, who immediately pivoted from the Kenosha, the Waukesha parade, the massacre on Christmas, where some guy drove through the crowd, and pivoted immediately to run for the Wisconsin Supreme Court? Is that the bothersome conduct you're talking about, Nick? I mean, no doubt the guy was guilty, but she certainly pandered to the cameras in the courtroom.
Yes, and I have a problem with judges pandering to cameras to get elected, being elected by people who don't know the law. I'm not saying I have all the right answers, okay? I just don't think judges should be elected. There's a better way. But I don't have the right way. I'm not going to.
Nick, appreciate your
appointed by God. You know, I'll be the appointee, Nick. I'll do it all. Don't worry about it, man. I got you.
I feel quite confident making Wisconsin Supreme Court elected votes. Now, if it comes to the appellate level or a district court judge, and so many of these, at least the spring election being the example, I don't know if there was a single contested judicial race on my ballot in Dane County, in Middleton. You know, so you didn't really have to think very hard. But what I would say is Supreme Court races, yeah, I think the I think the electorate can be properly educated, and I think that people are. And I don't like the fact that all of these races have devolved into partisan races. But the Wisconsin Supreme Court, I'm just fine with the process we have now. And sadly, here, Nick, I know you're not a MAGA Trumpster, but here's the reality. Immediately after this November's 2024 election, Ann Walsh Bradley is on the clock. And if we, obviously, I am hopeful for fair elections.
Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Ann Walsh Bradley.
Yes, she will be on the ballot next spring. Her term is up, her 10-year term. Tom, I can't believe it was 10 years ago that we had her in studio at the old joint. But anyways, this new fair map brought to you by the Republicans, the legislature that knew they had lost the case, and then by the signature of Tony Evers. Well, one turn of one justice, meaning if Ann Walsh Bradley does not hold serve, if the incumbent does not hold her seat, if the former attorney general, and that's a pretty large office. I mean, at least people have heard of Brad Schimmel, pardon me. I use him in the GOP chair interchangeably. But the former attorney general of the state of Wisconsin has already declared he is a candidate against Ann Walsh Bradley. Now, I am much more, Nick, looking forward to the next year, 2026, because I'm already laying out my calendar.
Come on, man.
April of 2026.
You might not even be alive by then, Crute. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Fair point, but the bad Bradley's on the ballot down.
Ooh, yeah.
Rebecca Bradley. So if we could hold serve in 2025, and Ann Walsh Bradley, the vast majority of all incumbents win re-election, like over 85%. I think she's got a good chance. Brad Schimmel's obviously got more notoriety than some, but I remember when he ran for AG. He was not a bright man. He's Vicky McKenna, right-wing talk radio host. The day he announced his candidacy, she encouraged more candidates to enter the race. Said effectively he wasn't ready for prime time. He didn't know his website. He didn't know his positions on most issues. Yet somehow they cleared the field for this guy, and they'll do it again because it's their only chance. You can't go with Dan Kelly. There's not 3 L's in Kelly.
There would be.
There would be. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us. A Hump Day edition. We'll do it again for you on Friday Eve and also Friday. Although I hear it's getting really nice this weekend. Might have to go get on a boat. Thank you for listening. The Busted Pencils is next.
Thank you to our previous guest, John Nichols from The Nation magazine. Thank you to our fine audience. And thank you, Rich, for putting up with Crute.